Hi, welcome to Spirit Mail. I'm Cheryl, and this is Daily Mail episode 26. So tonight we're going to talk about the importance of knowing what we want, knowing what it takes to get there, and knowing our willingness to get there. I think that's what it's going to be. We talk about, a lot of people talk about their prayers not being answered. And I've talked a couple different times about how, we give 10 minutes to prayer and meditation, and then the other 23 hours and 50 minutes of the day, we're out in the world going, you cut me off in traffic. And, oh, I hate that girl because, it's like, but the truth is we are always in communication with Spirit. It's the vibration of our heart. It's the emotions of our heart that communicate with Spirit stronger than our mouth or our mind. So I think the other reason that prayers don't get answered is because we don't know what we want, right? I'm going to tell you a little story that kind of, or we think we know what we want, and then when we get it, we're like, well, this isn't what I wanted. I'm going to tell you a little story about an incident that I went through where I think I've told you that I've always wanted to do something to give back, something to share love with people, something to make people feel blessed, make them feel elevated, make them feel cared about and wanted and accepted and loved and all that stuff. So I went through a dark night of the soul after I closed my business. I closed two businesses, a jewelry store and a real estate brokerage. And for 7 months, I stayed home and cried. The final straw, or what shook me out of that dark night, was a trip to New York, which I'll tell you about another time. But that trip shook me out of this place of just ruminating in my darkness. So I went back to work selling cars for a little while. But I was determined that, dadgummit, I'm getting old. It's time for me to do something. So I went to my sales manager and I said, I want you to allow me to volunteer at the hospital for 4 hours a week. I want you to allow me to have every Friday morning off so I can go volunteer at the hospital until noon. And to be a pink lady, right? And so he hauled around a little bit, and I finally convinced him that actually it'd be to his advantage for me to do that because, people would say, oh, nice guy. He let Cheryl come volunteer. Whatever. It wasn't about that. For me, it was because I felt like I'm running out of time to do something good in the world, right? So I want to go volunteer. I'm picturing myself walking into hospital rooms and visiting with the patients and maybe reading to them and holding their hand and possibly praying with them if they want to pray and stuff like that. So I'm all excited and I go to the hospital and talk to the volunteer coordinator for the Pink Ladies. And so she says, actually, we have a class coming up. And so she lets me fill out this little application and then sends me to the class. So on the day of the class, we're sitting there and there's like 8 or 12 of us in there, I can't remember. And we're sitting there waiting for this teacher to come in and talk to us. And this nurse walks in with this cart. And I'm kind of watching her, and she's got all these little vials, and she's playing in this bag and pulling out syringes and stuff, and I'm really watching her close, and I finally popped up and said, what's that all about? She says, oh, that's so that I can give y'all each a flu shot. I said, a flu shot? Why are you wanting to give us a flu shot? Oh, you have to have a flu shot or else you can't volunteer. And I said, oh, I don't take shots. Like, I have this horrible phobia about needles. So I'm like, I don't take shots. And she says, oh, no, you have to take a flu shot or else you can't volunteer. And I said, well, can you just like pass me up and let me talk to the volunteer coordinator after this class? And she says, well, yeah, but I mean, that's the rules. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about that flu shot, and I'm getting real nervous, and I'm thinking, why didn't this lady tell me this? And so this nurse is on the other side of the room giving flu shots, and then she comes to my table and walks past me and goes to the girl next to me, and the girl starts raising up her sleeve, and I start getting real hot. And the nurse looked at me, and I guess she could see the blood drained from my face because I was like freaking out that this needle was so close to me at this time. And she says, ma'am, you might want to step out in the hallway. And I said, good idea. So I stood up and I went out in the hallway, and I texted a friend of mine and I said, dude, you're not going to believe this. They want me to take a flu shot. And he texted back, he says, well, Cheryl, take the shot. I said, I can't take shots. And he says, well, it's something you've always wanted to do. And I said, I know, but I didn't know. I didn't know you had to take a shot. I can't do that. So they call me back in whenever they're done. So he says, well, he says, maybe you need to call on your friend God and ask him what you should do. He wasn't a big believer in God, but he says, maybe you should call on your friend God and ask him what you should do. I said, no, because he knows. I don't take shots. So they call me back in. I go back in the room, and this guy comes in and teaches this class. Well, when the class lets out at noon, this lady that I know, it's a small community, and she does something at the hospital. Anyway, she calls me into her office. So I walk in there and I said, am I in trouble? And she says, yeah. And I said, what? And she says, well, I just need to tell you the rules. She says, if you don't take a flu shot, you can't volunteer here at the hospital. And I said, that just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to, can I sign a waiver? I'm not going to hold you responsible if I get the flu. And she said, Cheryl, it's not about that. It's about if you have symptoms of the flu and you can have them before they start showing, you could infect a family member or a patient. So I said, okay, I understand. What are my other options? She says, there are none. She says, you could wait till flu season's over and then volunteer when it's not flu season. And I said, okay, let me think about what I'm going to do. So I left that day, and I think it was the next day or a couple of days after that, I was driving down the road, and I was just talking to God, and I was like, God, all I want to do is go love people. That's all I want to do. Why do I have to take a shot? And I kid you not, God said, you just want to go love people? I was like, yeah, that's all I want to do. He says, well, that's what my son wanted to do too. And he had to crawl on a cross and have a crown of thorns and let them crucify him. And you're complaining about a needle? And I busted out laughing. I said, I am such a jerk, right? I'm such a jerk. And so I made up my mind that I was going to take that shot, and I was telling all my friends about it, the conversation with God and all of that stuff. Excuse me. I was telling them all that stuff, and I was going to go take this shot because, I could be strong enough to do that and blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you, I got so busy at the car business, at the dealership, I didn't have time to go take a shot. Next thing I knew, it was spring. So I got to go volunteer without having to take a shot. But then, at our little community hospital, the volunteer group, the Pink Ladies, it's an old group, and I'm 54 years old. I was 52 or 53 at the time, but I was like the baby in this group. Most of them were in their mid to late 70s and 80s that volunteered, and they were very adamant about the schedule and about how things worked. And if you were allowed to pass out juice and coffee, which is what I asked to be able to do because I wanted to get in the rooms and have conversations with the patients that needed encouragement. So, but I didn't know if you were allowed to do that, it was get in, get out, and get the cart back because, you needed to get back to the desk. I mean, they were adamant about all that. So there was something that I wanted to do, and I realized that I didn't really want it bad enough to go get a shot, right? So I didn't really want it that bad, obviously. And then whenever the time passed and I was able to go do it, it wasn't even what I thought it was going to be. So being a pink lady didn't fulfill me the way I thought it would. So whenever I say, do we know what we want? Do we know what we're willing to do to get it? And then do we know, I forgot what the third question was, but the other thing was, when we pray, when our prayers don't get answered, are they not getting answered because we're not praying for what we want? Are we just putting this big old blank something out there, just saying, give me something to make me happy, give me something to make me feel fulfilled? How are we praying? What are we saying? I really think it's important for us to be specific about what we want in our life, and then to understand that was it talking to the people, holding their hands, reading to them, whatever those things that I thought that I wanted to do that was going to make me happy, or just feeling like I was, could I be happy just feeling like I was encouraging them? I don't know the answer, but it's the feeling. It's the feeling that we're looking for. It's the essence of how it's going to make us feel, because everything that we want because it's going to make us feel a certain way. So if we can say, it didn't have to be a pink lady, God, I just want to reach out to people and encourage them and lift them up and make them happy, and however that looks to you, that's what I want to experience. So I knew what I wanted, but I was being too specific about exactly how I was going to do it. But it's good to be specific about what you want, but not necessarily limit the universe on how you think that's going to happen for you. So now, a year and a half later or 2 years later, I'm doing something I never thought I would do, never even on my radar. But it's given me all that same fulfillment that I was looking for when I wanted to be a pink lady. And there's no flu shot required. So I'm real excited about that. But I want to tell you guys, thank you so much. Our little community is growing so much. I've gotten donations. I've gotten emails from people. Of course, there's comments in the comment section, but my heart has been so full, and in ways that I could have never imagined. And that's the other thing too, is that the universe answers us bigger and better than we could ever imagine. And I am so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to be walking this journey with y'all and seeing it happen like in real life, in real motion. It's incredible. So you guys are awesome. I love y'all so much. And we're going to get a PS. God, guides, angels, archangels, Holy Spirit, thank you so much for our community, our little Spirit Mail community. Thank you so much for every single person who's ever subscribed, shared a video, liked a video, hit the bell, sent a donation, sent an email, commented, all of that stuff. It's all so incredible. I appreciate you. I appreciate every one of y'all, even if you're just stopping by to see what the heck is this Spirit Mail thing about. I appreciate you too so much, and welcome. So show us the PS. What's the PS that goes with this message? We thank you for clear and concise messages. We thank you for love, light, and prosperity. And we thank you for clarification, confirmation, and validation. Show us the PS, please, that goes along with this story. Okay, PS. Sometimes it's a fool's journey. I mean, you know what? Whenever we put our trust in God and say, this is what we want, we're not going to define it. We're not going to limit you on how we're going to get there. We're just going to follow you. Whenever, again, back to, my background, Christianity, whenever he sent Abraham out, he didn't tell Abraham, you're going to go here and there, blah, 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 and this is going to happen and that's going to happen. He said, no, leave your family, leave your country, go to a place unknown to you. Just get out and start going, and I'll lead you as you go. And that's how the universe works with us. We got to take that first step. We got to put our foot out there and test the water and say, okay, is this it? And then keep moving. And as the momentum with this channel, y'all, it's unreal. We're over 25,000 subscribers. And I can't thank y'all enough for that. I just cannot thank you guys enough. And Spirit, because I know it's Spirit leading people here to bring us together as a community that is beneficial to each other, because y'all say the greatest things about what you get from the messages and all that, but you don't know what I get from you, which is probably way more valuable than well, we don't need to compare and compete, but what I get from you is just as valuable. So it's a journey, and it's a fool's journey. Nobody would ever guess where the universe can take them if we open ourselves up and allow the universe to guide us. Society cannot dictate our lives. I was having dinner last night with a few friends, and one of them asked me, how's your channel thing going? And I said, it's going great. And she says, are you making any money? And so, I kind of shared with her between personal readings and AdSense what I'm doing. And she was like, oh, you're kidding me. And I mean, it's not a huge amount, but it's impressive for, the time that I've been here. So society says you have to go work 80 hours a week with a corporation that expects you to be there for 30 years and give you their blood, sweat, and tears and hope that you'll get to go watch when you retire. That's not true. The world that we're in is so different than it used to be. So society doesn't have a hold on you unless you let it. See, these people are allowing society to keep them bound. You don't have to do that. This devil's hand, this mind game that's going on right here, his hand's open. They could walk away from that anytime. So, but sometimes we're scared to walk away because of our learned behaviors, our learned conditioning, the programming, what's right, what's not right, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, and all that stuff. So I feel like this is saying, if we're going to take this journey, we cannot allow society to keep us bound. We cannot allow the root ideas or our traditional beliefs about what it takes to be safe, how you got to make money and all that stuff. We can't allow all that to keep us bound. We have to walk forward in that faith. And this is the King of Swords. And you know what? He does it. He's intellectual, and he focuses on facts, and he's all about his truth, right? And what I feel more than anything with this card is we have to be authentic. We have to be able to detach from our emotions enough, detach from our insecurities enough, detach from what we think others think of us enough to be who we truly are, because he's not attached to his emotions. He says, I think this is going to help my people, and this is what I'm going to do. And he moves forward in that way. He moves forward without the fluff. He moves forward without the and he doesn't want anybody bringing any fluff to him either, because he's going to reject that right away. He listens to other people, but if it's not in line with who he is, he's walking forward in what he knows is his truth. So I feel like Spirit's wanting to say to us tonight, especially with the new year coming, it's, we're moving into the Thanksgiving season, then it's going to be Christmas, everything gets so busy. But it's a good time for us to, during our quiet time, to stop and evaluate the last year, the last 2 years, the last 5 years, and figure out how can we improve on that, and what do we actually want? What is it that we're wanting as far as for our life path, for our future? And then trust that the universe provides. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. they laughed at me last night at the table. I said I do the readings. I said, but then I implemented something called Daily Mail where I just get to talk. And one of them laughed and said, that's what you love to do, talk. So yeah, it is what I love to do. Some of the best memories with my kids, and I'm not kidding you, is the hours and hours that we spent at the kitchen table talking. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for who you are in my life. And I look forward to continuing this journey with y'all. I still don't know exactly where we're going or what we're going to do, but we're going to do something for each other big along the way. The main thing I hope that we always do is encourage each other and love each other and pick each other up and set each other back on our feet. I love y'all. And until next time, go out and have a super duper day. Bye.